Good morning. My name is John Murray. I'm the Vice President of Sales for the Americas for GlobalSign. I'm here with Rahul Pawar from Sift, and we're talking about VMC and email security today and how GlobalSign and Sift are going to be working together to help tackle some of the problems around email security. Just your thoughts. This is kind of your area of expertise, your thoughts on the future DMARC, VMCs, and the email security.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. So at Sift, we've been working on DMARC implementations for coming up on 10 years at this point in time. So We've really seen the industry, the technology evolve over that period of time. Back in the day, DMARC was one of those things that really sophisticated organizations did because they really valued email security. Was one of those, hey, it's a good thing to have to try and secure your supply chain and try and secure your consumers. But now we've seen that DMARC has become one of those foundational technologies around email security. Every business, big or small, that owns their domain needs to implement to ensure that they are not susceptible to trivial impersonation on their domain. And of course, at the same time, the DMARC spec has not been standing still. It's been moving along, and we're expecting a new DMARC spec to come out with even better protections around all that we've learned around this kind of email security aspect over the last 10 years. Of course, the thing that we're here to talk about is really the VMC, because that's really exciting. Because now we're taking DMARC from this invisible security layer to something that end users can actually see in their inbox, understand, and trust. This allows brands to actually put their email security posture in front of end consumers and their supply chain in a way that they've never been able to do before.
And the interesting thing is, like, VMC is kind of the visible extension of the underlying kind of policy framework that DMARC forces. And I think from your perspective, do you find that users are adopting the technology? Are they aware of the DMARC issues that exist? And are enterprises and companies looking at that brand?
Yeah, so, I think about 10 years ago, there was certainly a lot of market education that had to be done. I don't think most security professionals, most IT professionals, or most CISOs really understood what this technology was and how it was relevant to them. I think today, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who works in security that doesn't understand at least the basics of what these technologies are here to solve for. I think end users, it's been a lot more invisible for. And I'm a technologist, I'm excited about what technology can do, but I don't think we should be pushing more cognitive load onto our end users. The great thing about DMARC is that it kind of works in the background, like similar to a lot of the technology that you guys sell, on a regular basis. It just works invisibly to make sure that things are secure, cannot be intercepted. In the same way, DMARC ensures that emails are secure and they cannot be trivially impersonated by bad actors online who want to do this. Now, of course, the VMC is very exciting because that takes that security layer and in many compatible mailbox providers puts the certified brand identity. That is really what most users and most brands really relate as their identity, and puts that in front of users in a secure and validated way at scale. So billions of people using hyperscaler inboxes can see this today, which is like really exciting for us.
And those like Yahoo and Gmail, they're all requiring it, It's not something that's optional.
So that the DMARC layer has actually become one of those things that you just kind of have to do. As of a year ago, a lot of these big inbox providers, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Yahoos, basically said, if you're really sending email to our users and you don't have at least a basic DMARC policy implemented, you're doing it wrong. And we're not going to show your email to users. Now, that's the compliance base layer, if you want to think of it as that. So that's the minimum that's required for organizations to be able to get into the inbox of end users at scale. And it's for everyone's benefit. It's just to make sure that these emails are secure and they aren't trivially impersonated. In the age of AI, the cost of actually doing this is dropping to zero. So we need robust technology solutions to ensure that email remains a secure channel to be able to communicate and do real business on. Now, at the same time, of course, if you could just meet the minimum bar, you can't actually get that brand logo. You have to actually have a very strong DMARC policy that is watertight, essentially, to ensure that no one can trivially impersonate your really important brand and put that in front of an end user, unless all of those sticks are secure and there is no opportunity for impersonation.
In the traditional email inbox, that users make trust decisions in seconds. So adding that visual kind of layer and kind of teaching users that this is what you look for. That's, I think, an important thing for companies that are dealing with consumers and using email as a channel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, email is an incredibly powerful channel because it's the one channel that we have that is truly distributed and open.
Right.
But obviously, being in technology a very long time, we've seen the rise of various types of tools. We use Slack, of course, like a lot of organizations do.
Yes.
But when we talk to our customers, when we talk to our partners, when we talk to our investors, when we talk to our supply chain, we're doing that over email like almost every other organization on the planet is.
Right.
That's because it's open, it's interoperable, and everyone's got an email address.
Yeah.
So clearly, it's an extremely unique channel that's out there that's powered a lot of communication capability on the internet.
Yes.
But like every open, interoperable channel that exists, as soon as you have that, the bad guys look at it and they look at opportunities
to exploit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that when you design this infrastructure going forward, you're designing with security in mind.
Right.
And we're seeing that Deacon, SPF, DMARC, now VMC are all part of that foundational trust fabric for email.
Why do you think email security still matters?
Like you just said, it's part of how we do messaging, and it's likely to always be like that because any system that exists that allows this massive interoperation of decentralized messaging is going to have a lot of the same problems that email does, right? So we see that every time anyone tries to open this up, there's potentially a lot of impersonation. There are people pretending to be someone else because they're trying to borrow trust in some way or form. And as soon as you do that, you need to put strong technology controls in place to make sure that it's not straightforward to use that trust, because of course as soon as you break that, it becomes very difficult to regain it. So I'm very happy that the technology community has come together and build these internet scale standards that are really watertight, that help ensure that not only can we get the benefit of a secure, highly trusted connection, we can also ensure that the bad guys can't really get in there in the way that they were able to do maybe about 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, and what I've seen too from an enterprise perspective is, email security is something we've done. We do S-MIME, but it's not something that's scalable into the consumer space. It's something that's more an enterprise direct, kind of connection, because everybody has to have a certificate. I think this opportunity here from a technology perspective really takes on that consumer space and really the brand, when we talk about brand security and being able to grow your business, but also make sure that you're not exploited, or your customers or your potential customers aren't exploited. So I think it's this technology is really scalable, to a lot of different audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the consumers come in all different sizes and flavors. There are businesses that do extremely valuable, important work, but they're not enterprises in the traditional sense.
But they have a brand. They have
they have brand. They have customers. They have the employees' data. They have the customers' data. They have complex supply chains. They involve themselves in material transactions. You can imagine, so like non-retail finance, right? They're small businesses, but they're doing really material stuff for the economy and for their supply chain, and they deserve having the same sort of protections and technologies that everyone does. So it's a really democratic suite of capability that's being pushed out there for businesses of all sizes, whether you're the largest retail bank in the country, or you happen to be some sort of niche insurance firm, or a mom and pop shop who is dealing with returns and sending out goods. These are all material in their own way to the people who are involved in it. And we're basically democratizing these technologies to ensure that everyone gets the same level of security they deserve.
Excellent. Beyond compliance, we often hear DMARC as a requirement. How do you see it becoming more about trust, the brand, and that customer experience? I mean, we've talked a little bit about that, but to dive a little deeper into, say, some of the companies selling to consumers and seeing that logo has a big effect on how consumers will, decide what is trustworthy or not trustworthy. I mean, I've heard people talk about like email filtering, right? The technology that we've often relied on is not really reliable in the sense it doesn't scale, whereas we should be looking more at what is, not so much what is bad, but having, somebody prove that it's good. I don't know if you could comment on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you're right. Email has always sort of been as the, how do I filter out the stuff that's bad? And that sort of patch on top of email has been the status quo for a really long time.
Yes.
And so now we're in a world where we're moving away from the sort of like patching the endpoints, right? The network interaction points, to actually making security part of the design of the platform itself.
Yes.
So the technologies that we're talking about is really the shift from email security as a patch to email security by architecture and by design.
Right.
And that's why these standards are difficult to build, they're complex to put together, because they need to operate at internet scale.
Right.
They need to be built into the fabric of way how communications work.
Right.
But when you get them right, the ability to impact billions and billions of inboxes around the world is clearly there. And that's what's happening right now. So now you can think about this new layer of email security as a layer of your zero trust strategy, as a layer of your brand identity strategy, not just about filtering individual messages at the edge of your network perimeter.
Right.
This is a much more important thing, because if you think about, the traditional approach, hey, I filter what comes in, that might work for you and your organization, but your organization's going out to the general public. Your organization's going out to the supply chain. What happens to that? When that does try to impersonate you at scale on those inboxes that you don't even have control over. That's why you need system level design for security at the core, and that's where email is at in 2026. And organizations that don't really know about this, haven't really adopted it, are going to find themselves behind the curve, because, once again, Microsoft, Google, Yahoo have gone out and said, you need to be doing this stuff, and you need to be implementing it, and we'll give you the benefit of things like VMC and CMC and the brand benefits and the trust benefits that come from having those things, but only when you've adopted these technologies correctly and holistically.
From your perspective, what's exciting about our partnership together?
First off, we're really happy to be working with you guys, because I think you guys think about the world in a very similar way to we do. We're interested in fundamental email security for all.
Yes.
And in order to do that at scale, we need a high degree of automation. We need a zero friction way of getting this stuff out, so that organizations of every scale can deploy at the rate that they need to. Because there's a big internet out there, and a lot of people are pretty far behind. So I'm really excited about what we can do with GlobalSign once we automate all of this, once we automate the process of getting to DMARC compliance, once we automate the process of actually getting these CMCs and BMCs issued at scale, because there are so many organizations that need and deserve this type of technology, but don't know where to start. As we build a more tight integration about this entire supply chain, we can completely see the way email security would change at a global level across the internet. That's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, it's exciting because there's a natural kind of synergy between our companies, in the sense that we deal with, we're all about digital trust and identity, and that's the kind of the core function of, the VMC certificates. It's kind of like EV certificates for email security in a way.
Exactly.
And with you guys having the services that can help customers get that, policy enforcement to become, so that they can take advantage of it, right? I know that's difficult sometimes for customers, how you help with that process to get them compliant and in that full protected mode, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It is challenging. It's challenging for small organizations, because typically they don't have the expertise to do this. They might have simpler email infrastructure, but at the same time, they don't really have the resources in-house to figure all of this stuff out. At the other end, we work with some of the largest and most complicated organizations in the world. And while they have the expertise, the scale of the problem that they're trying to solve and the amount of change that they have on their infrastructure on a regular basis means that you're continuously trying to stay on top of everything. Now, the challenge is, if you don't get it right, you have business continuity problems. Right? Because you're stopping things that are actually yours, that are legitimate, that your $1 million marketing cost that was going to go out to promote, your new feature or your new product, doesn't go out because it doesn't pass the email security standards that you've now imposed upon yourself. So it's very important to get this right and make sure that it's right not only at the moment of deployment, but it's right through the entire life cycle of the business, because no business stays the same over that entire period of time. So how does it evolve with you? So we have a lot of experience in doing this at both scales, and what we're really excited about is, with the rise of technology and AI as it stands today, we can automate a lot more than we could even 2 years ago. So we're at a place now where we can effectively do automatic triage for this, help you implement some of these complex I'll admit, exotic standards sometimes, right? I'm sure you guys appreciate it.
Yes.
There's a lot of technology in PKI that people don't really understand. It's important to them, but it's difficult stuff. And the job for us as vendors is to make sure that it's outcome-oriented, that it's frictionless, that our users can get the benefit without necessarily having to understand all of the painful detail associated with it the way we do, because that's our job.
Yeah.
So that's exactly how we want to build this out.
It is a very complex ecosystem, and that's definitely something that you guys help with. But what's your advice for security leaders, coming out of this show and about email, and how they should look at Redsift and GlobalSign as a potential to help them?
Yeah, I think first off, it's what we've talked about. I think email's fundamentally changing.
Yes.
And for security professionals who don't really understand what these technologies are about, I think it's incumbent on them just to see what the state of the art looks like today.
Right.
How they compare against their peer groups, what their regulatory bodies are saying, what the big hyperscalers are saying, what email standards need to be adopted in 2026, so that they can at least understand where they are on the journey. There are obviously thousands of organizations that have adopted these standards and are enjoying the benefits of them. I'm sure a lot of consumers are already seeing logos with blue ticks inside their email inboxes. This is happening all around, and for organizations that don't understand what it's about, how to adopt, and why it's relevant to them, I think it's about time a lot of those organizations kind of look at the detail of what's really happening here and how they can benefit from it. Secondly, I think, as we said before, email security is transitioning from this filtering black box at the edge of the network kind of technology to something that's quite fundamental to their identity and zero trust strategy across this channel that's been around for a long time, but for the first time has the right technical controls for it to be really part of the solution. And I think the most important thing for people to realize is just how dangerous email can be if they don't get it right. We know that a lot of what happens in the real world starts with some sort of phishing campaign that then turns into lateral movement and suddenly becomes a much bigger problem than it was at the start of the process. So making sure that you lock the front door, you adopt the best practices, you're doing commercially relevant security across some of your most important channels by getting smart about what the standards look like today. I would suggest that's, if organizations haven't figured this out, in 2026 is a great time to start looking at this.
Yes, very good. Well, thanks, Raul. It's been really interesting talking to you, and I appreciate the partnership and look forward to working with you and your team and helping solve the problems that a lot of these companies have together.
Thanks so much for taking the time at RSA. I know it's a busy show.
Yes.
But really excited to see where we get to this year.